This is the Inquisitive Minds Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Inquisitive Minds Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Smith. With me today, we have a special guest coming straight out of the local graveyards of Pittsburgh, PA. They're the dream team of Screams, bringing their own spooky vision to the classic 10-in-1 style circus sideshow, stitched together with some thread, piano, and accordion, and resurrected with a devilish little punk rock twist. Of the Stolen Stitches, we have Danger Dave today.
Hi there.
Welcome to the podcast. How you doing today, brother?
Doing fine. Thank you very much.
As a quick description, you have the world's most death-defying pianist. Before we go any further, I would ask you for some elaboration on that.
Oh, yes. I myself go by the world's most death-defying pianist to make Billy Joel blush with the acts I do. My main famous act is like to play piano with one hand and eat fire with the other. Other times when I can, I like to play with both hands while the torch is lit in my mouth, holding it with just my teeth. It's great. My dentist loves that act so much, but...
Tell me about it. My dentist loves me, too.
Oh, yes. Don't they all?
And the other members of the Stolen Stitches are Claudette Simpson.
Yes, Claudette Sumsum and Charlie Thargic.
Claudette says she's the resident satanic sword swallower. Like, that's just, the resident.
Yes, normal.
Okay.
Move to Brownsville. It's like the main spot. Like, the normal, like, housekeep.
Okay.
Like that.
And Charlie Thargic. I saw a lot of descriptions for what you guys do. It's just hard to place one unique thing on one person. What is his specialty?
Charlie Thargic, actually, they are the old-time torture revivalists, like they like to call themselves. They specialize in burlesque, shock acts, and again, the old classic art of pain.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, now the Stolen Stitches. Obviously, we're in a pandemic, but outside of that, where do you guys perform, or are you traveling?
Yes, funny enough, we actually performed our last performance together as a troupe in New Orleans back in March, a week before the pandemic, at a festival called the Southern Sideshow Hootenanny. It was our biggest show to date, and then 1 week later, we were supposed to go on tour in Kentucky, and boom, pandemic happened. But we just recently actually started performing again out in Elwood City at the Fearscape Haunted House.
Okay. What do you guys do out there? Is it a show, or are you part of the attraction?
You're actually at the very end of the haunted house. They have a haunted house and an escape room, and once you get through all the ghosts and ghouls, you finally get to our performance, where we put on a small 5 to 10 minute stage performance.
Oh, that's actually very interesting. I was unaware that it was. I seen the announcement recently. Now, I've seen some photos of you guys. This is the first time we're meeting. First off, very impressed with everything.
Oh, thank you very much.
I had on here Davy Della Fiamma.
Yes, actually one of our good friends. He's in West Virginia right now. He works with Po Folks Cabaret. He was originally from Pittsburgh here as well.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and he mentioned you guys. And it seems like you guys share a lot of the same performances. I saw a picture of you, or one of you, and it looked like you were holding a torch into your mouth.
Oh, yes. That is.
Is that you?
Very likely. Me, myself, or Davi. But,
Okay.
Yeah, very likely.
That's very impressive. How did you get into this? What made you start the active sideshow?
The active sideshow, let me see, best way to put it, I would say back in 1961. I know I look young for my age. But,
You do.
Oh, yes. But I would say my origin itself was walking through the graveyard late at night, and I met a man dressed in white, which was kind of hard to see in the dark, but he said, "Hey, Junior, would you like to learn the art of sideshow and travel the world?" I said, "I'm not doing anything else today, so why not?" We signed some papers, tried to get me to join a timeshare, but I wasn't really interested in that. But he told me I sold my soul, but we'll see that later. Yeah, sure. And just kind of formed from there.
Okay, that's great. Where did you grow up?
I grew up actually in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay, you're a local fella.
Local native, yep.
That's good to go. Now, outside of the piano and the fire, obviously you're a very good performance artist. You can tell just from your speaking voice.
I try.
What other sideshow acts do you bring?
I bring a classic mix of old and new. We do the human blockhead, which is I call the bread and butter act because most people have seen it in every show, which is the nail through the nose. I also specialize in eye socket lifting, which is taking special customized eye socket hooks, placing them inside the pockets of your eyeball here, and lifting very unique stuff in the grossest way possible.
That's a new one for me.
Yes, it
I've
is.
never heard of that.
It is a bit more of a shock value one, definitely the up 18 plus for that one.
Just a small peek behind the curtain. Is that painful to do?
It is a very unique feeling, to say the least. Like, you know, whenever you worked out for the first time in a long time, you feel muscles you didn't realize you had, they're sore. Yeah, that was one that I did not realize was going to be it grows on you.
I mean,
takes some time.
My hat's off to you for everything, but that is the first I've heard of that, and that's so unique.
Yes, it is one of the more dangerous acts. Again, those at home on the radio, do not try this at home. We hate competition in sideshow. But regardless, yes, it is. That one took me quite a bit to learn from some friends, and it's a very interesting act, but very shocking and very to the point of sideshow.
I tell you what, but we here at Inquisitive Minds, we're all about safety. So if you're at home sitting about and thinking about putting some hooks in your eyes to pick up a few things, we're going to say leave it to the professionals. It's a hard stance we're going to take here.
Yes, please do not try this at home.
Wow. That honestly, that really caught me off guard. That's phenomenal. I'm going to have to make it out to one of your shows at some point. Do you use any other hooks like to do? I don't know if this is in your realm, but I've seen people use like skin hooks.
We do not actually. I do know there is a local troupe in here in Pittsburgh, Only Flesh. They specialize in the hook suspension. I've not done that myself. I would like to. My only opportunity I had was a few years back. My now ex-girlfriend, we had broken up, and she said, "Hey, we'd like to come to this remote desert island and perform hooks, so my boyfriend hooks you up." I'm like, this sounds way more sketchy than I would like for it to be because we did not have a good breakup. So I'm like, I'm just going to just wait until people come along.
That might have been a good call.
Yeah, I think so.
Might have turned into a Hellraiser type
I
situation.
really that's what you're going for, honestly.
That's a hell of a thing to call someone.
Yeah.
So, Claudette Simsim,
Yes.
the resident satanic sword swallower. Can you tell me a little bit about her and what all she does and brings to the table?
Yes, so Claudette joined the troupe, I'd say we put together roughly around 2008. Claudette joined about 2 years in.
Okay.
We actually met at a variety show at the now distinct Lava Lounge. They are a resident sword swallower, they're a fire eater, glass eater, perform what we call mental floss, which is taking a long glow stick tube, putting it in your nose, and by the magic of Satan, pulling it out of your mouth. Which is
That's another
I
first.
still don't know I can't do it myself. I've been doing it
That is
for
another first.
so many years. Oh yes.
Wow. That's cool. That's wild. And then Charlie Thargic, you said he does the pain torture stuff?
Yeah, so technically they are she, but they are non-binary. Oh,
my apologies.
Not a problem. They go at non-binary, but yes, they are the old-time torture revivalists. They originated with me from the show from the very early days. We actually performed separately on two different acts on tour and met in Vermont and decided to finally work together. They've come to my right-hand person from the beginning of the show. They do fire eating, glass eating, again, they do our burlesque acts. And anything kind of torture. Another act we have is called human pincushion, which involves taking very sharp needles and placing them inside your skin as you can penetrate your skin. And by the luck of all the gods of sideshow, no blood will appear.
That is fascinating. That is truly a skill.
Oh, yes, it is.
My, oh, my. Before moving forward, just so I'm not disrespectful, Charlie Thargic, she, them?
Yes. Right there.
And Claudette, them?
Claudette's just she.
She?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to be
Oh, no, by all means.
respectful.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's fascinating. You guys said you formed in 2008?
Yes, we're in 2008.
Now, how did you sort of form together? I don't know the life of a sideshow act. Is it a lonely road in the beginning?
It is. I performed for a while just as myself as the world's most testifying pianist. And like I said, eventually, about a year in, myself and Charlie happened to be on the same tour, both in different acts. They were, I believe, playing banjo with one of the local bands in town, and I was on, and we had not known each other, but her band happened to have about 10 people in it, so it's easily to miss each other. But sure enough, we did a show in Vermont at an oddities museum, and they had mentioned, "Hey, you do sideshow. I do performing as well," and it just kind of clicked from there.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so luck of the road, essentially.
And then Claudette came about 2 years later.
Yes, Claudia came 2 years later on complete randomness. I could be doing a variety show at Lava Lounge and seeing all the different acts, and I seen there was a sword swallower, and I was like, I need to talk to you. Yeah, pretty much. Eyes lit up.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I have more questions about the Charlie Thargic thing. As far as the burlesque, I think we all understand that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
The torture, I believe I saw bed of nails.
Oh, yes.
But when you say torture, can you elaborate on that a little bit more? What exactly act is being performed, I guess?
Yes, depending on the act they're doing, they like the special. I think they make burlesque dangerous and sexy at the same time. They do have a nurses act, which actually you can see. We did a cyber video on our YouTube page. It's called Into the Unknown. It's kind of a post-apocalyptic video, and they did a nurse act where they do the classic striptease and then take the needles we have that are specialized needles and start performing some specialized shots on themselves, putting the needle through their cheeks, through their face, and through other little sensitive parts.
All this is fascinating.
Oh, yes. So they do that, as well as they have another act as well involving, of course, the hot wax burlesque, which is stripping down and then pouring the hot wax on, again, parts you don't really want to. Yes.
Brave people, I've spilled hot wax on myself accidentally.
Oh, yes.
And it wasn't a good time.
Not a good time.
It wasn't a pleasurable time.
Yes.
Do you come from a sideshow background? Is there performers in your family?
There are performers, it's not in sideshow. Actually, I grew up with a family of bluegrass musicians.
Okay.
Yes, ever since I was in the womb, I've been around by music and bluegrass and kind of toured around most of the East Coast. My family, I started initially going into fire around 2006. I had met one of the local fire eaters in town here, Kristen, who would always street perform outside of the Benham Center. And I'd seen her eating fire, and I thought, I need to learn this. And her show partner, Sean, initially kind of showed me the initial ropes of starting it from there. But yeah, it's kind of the first. My family was kind of a bit surprised I took this kind of performing route, but they said, well, you're a performer.
My limited experience with sideshow performers, I just want to say that, but it has led me to believe that it's a very, I don't want to say unregulated, but like a guarded thing it's not taught broadly. It's more handed down from person to person.
Essentially, yes.
It seems like that makes for a stronger community.
In a sense, there are some very tight-pocketed community parts of it for sure. We actually perform quite often with a troupe we had met in Louisville, Kentucky, called the Bizarre Bazaar.
The Bizarre Bazaar?
Yes, we have that, and also as well, we have, as you tour on the road, you meet certain people that you kind of just click with, and you become your show family.
I'm a performer myself. I'm a stand-up.
Oh, perfect.
So I can understand. You eventually just click with people.
Yes.
You do. Was it difficult to click with people, but also there had to be an intersection of their act brings something to the table that what you have combined is lacking. Was that a difficult procedure, finding the group and like putting it together? Were you actively searching for a sword swallower?
I was not actively searching. It just happened to randomly come out of nowhere. But yeah, initially, we do have a certain theme to our stuff. We all are huge fans of Halloween and everything spooky, so it kind of actually just lucked out in our favor that both myself and Charlie, I apologize. Both myself and Charlie were both very weirdo, creepy artists to begin with.
I'm going to say to the people out here listening, if you haven't got a chance to see them, at least check out their Facebook page or something, because the outfits, the pictures, they're all wild and outrageous, but in a good way.
Oh, yes.
You know, it's fascinating to see. It's very interesting.
We try to scare and inspire, is what we like to say.
Yeah, that's a beautiful message. I like anything that inspires. Do you have any type of positive message that you have behind your shows?
I'd say the best message is do not be afraid to be the weirdo in the group, by all means, and just keep moving forward with whatever you're doing in life. That's the best way I like to put it.
That's an amazing message. I can fully stand behind that. Don't be afraid to be who you are.
Oh, yes.
And keep it fucking pushing. Keep working at it.
And most of all, do not stop. I remember actually, oddly enough, years ago before my troupe started, there was another troupe. I believe they're kind of extinct at this point, and I was trying to jump in with them, and they read my message and saw what I had to say. It's like, hey, I'm looking forward to doing this. Yes, I can do everything you want, and they ignored me. So rather than sit there and be defeated, I decided, you know what? I'm going to start my own show and just do it myself. And
I like it. I preached on here before. It was actually going off about cancel culture being a myth. Just because if you produce your own stuff, if you do your own stuff, who can cancel you? So I like that idea behind, fuck it, I'll do it myself.
Yeah, DIY.
And then you're responsible, for what you put out. It's harder to blame other people when you're doing it yourself. No, I really like that. That's a beautiful message. How does one start marketing a DIY sideshow act?
Best way, generally, if we've started with was obviously use Facebook. We started our Facebook page at facebook.com/thestolenstitches. Do marketed ads. You only have to pay money for get the likes and stuff. Do that, and for the initially beginning days, we started just going to open mic stages, which people did not see that coming at all. Anyways. We'd do that. Eventually, we'd find different venues around the area and book them and just try to flyer, get a street team together to get flyers out to the public and kind of slowly try to build from there.
I like it. It's organic, hitting the ground.
Yep.
I like that approach. I want to touch on something.
Yeah.
You mentioned that they read your message and just ignored you. And instead of just sitting there getting angry, you kept it moving. I think one of the easiest things to get is a persecution complex, no matter who we are. Look, anything you do is a skill and a talent that you have to grow and hone and work on. And if you're not getting the opportunities you think you deserve or the stage time you think you deserve, it's easy to say, well, it's because this person hates me, or this person doesn't like me, or because I'm this or that. The truth of the matter is they probably have nothing against you. You just have to improve. Just stop worrying and keep working.
Keep moving forward.
I will always preach that message here.
Oh, yes.
Wow. So, the punk rock, the devilish little punk rock twist, you guys outside of piano, you mentioned accordion.
Yes, that actually is Charlie's main musical instrument.
Now, that is a rarity. I don't see much accordion anymore, and it immediately screams polka to me. Like, that's all I can think of when I hear accordion.
Understandable. Well, oddly enough, Charlie got their inspiration, and it's a big inspiration on both of us, from music Mr. Tom Waits, who is one of the cooler accordion players.
I was unaware that he played accordion. I happened to see a clip on YouTube of him, I believe, or Facebook, that said it was Heath Ledger's inspiration for the Joker's voice. And he seemed like a cool dude. I didn't know he played accordion, though.
He does.
Well, now he kind of looked like the most badass accordion player I've seen.
Pretty much.
I wish Claudette was here because I'd like to know, how do you start an accordion? Because, I understand drums, guitar, even a horn. I don't know anyone who's looked at an accordion and be like, you know what, I can master that.
I've tried that myself. I've tried with Charlie's, and it's way too many buttons. You squeeze in, squeeze out, press buttons on the side, and it's just way too much. I thought playing with two hands on piano was enough for me, and then I'm like, okay, this is like drums times 3. And so I just let them handle that on their own.
Now, when she's playing the accordion, is there other things going on? Like you mentioned, you had fire in your mouth and one hand. Is there, I don't know, needles dropping on her face or something crazy?
Generally, for the accordion, since it is so big, it's generally left there just perform with the accordion, and I'll often do like a fire performance with it. It's like an accompaniment.
Now, I picked up a tone of comedian from you.
Yeah.
From just speaking with you. Do you incorporate that into your act?
I would do try to throw in some little comedy here and there.
Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah. A family of bluegrass players.
Yes.
So you grew up and you were essentially around performers your entire life. And then you see this man in white in the cemetery.
Yes.
And he says, you're going to come, you're going to do sideshow. How did your family react to that? Not saying it's something like no son of mine. I don't mean it like that. But how did your family react to you saying you were?
It was a little tricky at first. Admittedly, they've not really seen anybody in the family do that. So I started practicing with a friend, just with the nature of fire eating. And sure enough, I was watching my mom's house over the weekend years ago, and was it? Yes, I think I practiced indoors, which is not recommended, but she had very
Practice fire eating indoors.
Yes.
Okay.
Practice indoors. She has very high ceilings. By all means, if you do practice fire eating, please have a safety with you, which is another person with you in case anything goes wrong. But long story short, this was roughly 10, 12 years ago. I practiced fire eating indoors, and sure enough, got a small ember that had fallen onto her little tablecloth. We luckily put it out, but there was a little tiny hole on the tablecloth, which I thought, okay, how can I explain this away? And she saw it, of course, and it's like, what happened? I'm like, well, making the $1 million story in my mind. And eventually, like, okay, Mom, yeah, I'm learning to eat fire. I want to be a performer. Yeah. So
Okay. I have a funny little story. When I was maybe 12, going through puberty, I liked fire a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I was messing around and accidentally lit, I guess, a piece of paper on fire, hit the carpet, burned a little bit of the carpet. Terrified me, probably the size of a grapefruit. Mm-hmm. And it was in my mother's bedroom. And I never got in trouble for it because that was the same day I also decided to break into her sex drawer and find certain adult things. And I put everything back except for a condom that I just happened to have out of the package. Was just, I was learning. Mm-hmm. I was inspecting a condom.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess I just left a full condom out laying on the fucking floor. Oh, no. And I got screamed at that, but it was more like, okay, he's going through puberty. It was curiosity. Don't go through my shit. And thank God that outweighed the little fire. I never heard anything about the fire. Mom, I know you're going to listen to this.
Oh, my.
I love you to death.
Well, maybe that was the perfect storm, perfect timing, perfect age, too. Because you're going through puberty.
Yeah.
And you got curious.
I stopped lighting fires. You know what? I hate to. I'm a prude guy. I don't really talk about sex, but I have another funny story.
Oh yeah,
just thinking about that. We're just gonna air all the dirty laundry out here.
Yes.
I remember being about 5 or 6, and I came across a nudie mag that my mother had, but it was not traditional. It was for women, obviously. And I looked through it, and one of the things they had in there was a picture of hot dogs in a bun, but the hot dog was, I guess, cut up and carved to look like a penis.
Oh, okay.
And for about 3 or 4 years, I thought that women ate your penis. It's this little 6-year-old logic, but I was terrified that women wanted to eat your penis, and I wanted no parts of that.
Yeah, understandable. That's a valuable part.
People wonder why I'm weird. And why I'm so socially awkward. I grew up being terrified of the opposite sex.
Well, it makes you feel any better, honestly. I have a story. Whenever I was around the same age, too, around 6 or 7, I had not known, and obviously I had a penis down there, but I was completely unaware because all I'd ever know, like, I had bathed with my sister, but we never really looked down there what was going on. And I remember seeing I think, Spawn comic book, which I was really into him. I did not understand the story at all. It was way more darker than for a 6-year-old to ever read.
It's so much darker.
Oh, yes. And I opened up the first page of the comic book, and there is just a completely naked woman floating in space for reasons. And I looked, I'm like, there's nothing down there. Okay, that is very weird. I don't get it. And for the longest time, I thought there's nothing down there until eventually, I believe when I was around 13 or 14, my next-door neighbor, he was older. He was a senior in high school. He had some friends over and invited me over and showed me I believe, Penthouse magazine, which opened my mind. Holy cow. It's a lot I did not know about life.
All right. This is what this episode has turned into. I'm just dragging my closets out of the skeleton. The first time I ever watched a porno video, I was 13. It was given to me by my uncle. I look older now. I looked older at 13. Mm-hmm. It was a porno that he gave to me on VHS. I'm dating myself here. But what it was a holiday-themed porno.
Tell me It's a Wonderful Life, please.
No.
Damn.
It was a Christmas-themed porno with about 4 or 5 women, and there was only one male actor, and it was a little person dressed up as Santa's elves.
Oh.
And that was my foray into it right there. So thank you to my family for fucking me up pretty bad.
That was quite the experience.
Yeah, that was traumatizing because at that age, yeah, I was excited. But then I was looking at a little person, and he made me feel inadequate. It was very conflicting feelings. Like, I might be taller than you, but fuck you, buddy. Just, hey, we got to put it out there. If I can't be honest about who I am,
yeah, understandable.
you know, I don't even know where the hell we were as far as talking about sideshow.
Honestly, it trails off. I guess it's a sideshow and burlesque, and kind of just eventually leads to porn. Everything leads to porn, as I always say.
Now, I do stand up. I'm not that big of a stand up, obviously. I'm only 2 years in. Still small potatoes. However, I get little fans or groupies. The only thing is, they all look like me. They all look like me or you or my producer Todd. They're all heavyset bearded guys that just won't leave me the fuck alone. Do you have people that I like groupie's not the right word. I'm just using that to be funny.
Yeah.
But do you have people like that are just like blah 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 blah? Like my biggest pet peeve is someone who tells me how much they thought about doing stand up. Do you have people approach you with these sideshow acts afterwards with the same thing?
I have. Yeah, that's often a big thing. A lot of times we get drunk people saying, "I'll give you $20. Let me stand on the glass." Like, nope, sorry, safety. Just if you're ever drunk, it's just never a good go-to. But I do have some people. The thing with the sideshow is, as long as being a performer, it's a rich history. There's a lot of culture and history behind it. And I've had people ask me before to teach them, but I want to make sure their heart's really in it.
I can understand that.
Yeah. I remember there's a girl years ago that asked me, they just broke up with their boyfriend, and told me they were just being wild and crazy right now. They want to learn sideshow. And while I appreciated it, and I understood what they were going through, but I also felt, too, that if you're doing this for the reasons of doing wild and crazy, then just go, you can have a one-night stand. That's wild and crazy, and you have your fun. But sideshow is history, and also, too, it's dangerous, and just to make sure your heart's in the right place for it.
Okay. Would you consider yourself somewhat of a little bit of a historian on sideshow?
A little bit here and there, yes. I try my best to.
Could you give us a few bullet points of the sideshow through the years?
Yes, I guess starting the earliest days, back in the early 1920s, a man named Mr. Melvin Burkhart actually pretty much made one of the most classic acts, the human blockhead, famous. Originally, the act was a torture and pain act. It was more shocking, scary, and just you're putting a nail through the nose. Essentially, it's now the COVID swab testing.
Dabby did that while he was here. He did a little sword in his nose.
Oh, yes.
And he told this. I love this guy. He got me so good. He said, "I need your help to pull it out." Mm-hmm. I go to touch it. He starts screaming like I'm murdering him. Scared the dog shit out of me. But he did that and pulled it out. And then he had a drill in here. And you guys check out that episode if you want to see it with Davey Fiamma, where he put a drill in his nose. Like, that's wild stuff.
Oh,
and
yes.
it's like I've seen it on TV. I've known about it for years. But even still in person to see it, it's outrageous. It's amazing.
It is a very shocking, for sure, act, definitely. Like I said, back in the old days, it was originally a torture act, which is more shocking. Do not watch this at home act. And then Melvin Burkhart introduced the element of comedy into it. It made it more very fun. Almost, I want to say family-friendly in a sense, but he made it very more theatrical.
Okay. Like a lighthearted approach to it?
Yes.
Okay. You need brevity sometimes. You know?
Oh, yeah, no, for sure.
You know, we like to have fun here. Last week's episode was on veteran suicide, and it was a really heavy episode. I want to thank you all, first off, real quick, for everybody who listened. It's a very important issue to me, and I want to assure you the rest of the month is very, very fun, very light topics, because that weighed on my soul heavy.
Oh, no, understandable.
So you definitely need the brevity in the performance.
Oh, definitely. Yes, for sure. I think it was like Jeff Foxworthy had a great quote. I can't remember it exactly, but he was talking about performing. And he was saying in general how, when you got the world is obviously very tough right now, but when you get a chance to go out to a show and just kind of escape from everything and just be able to laugh and just enjoy life for a little while, even for an hour or 10 minutes, it kind of just resets your batteries and recharge and just be able to get back into the world, back into the fight again.
Absolutely.
Something I really appreciate. I always remember that when I'm going on stage to the audience, that we're here to entertain you guys, to make you guys feel good, kind of recharge and get back out there.
Yeah, you kind of feed off each other.
Yes.
You know, the audience is there because they want to laugh or see a show. In your case, I'm sorry, this is just from a comic
Oh
standpoint.
no, but
you know,
we
they want to
enjoy
laugh,
laughter definitely.
and our whole goal is to make them laugh.
Right.
You know, so it's a beautiful unity when it works together well. So he brought a lighter tone to Sideshow at that point.
Yes. Melvin brought in the comedy aspect of it. He kind of made it the most famous. We call him, I believe, Blockhead has been around since many, many years, but he kind of, we call it the originator of the Blockhead, essentially, since he brought it to a new element. You have that, and then I believe later through the later years, this, I would say, most famous conjoined twins, actually, Daisy and Violet Hilton, they they were around during the vaudeville days in the 1930s and 40s. Now that I'm more so going into in the aspect of, by all means, this is welcome to everybody, but more so back then, Sideshow was the main attractions were we called the natural borns, people born of.
Is freak show an antiquated term?
It is. It's antiquated in a sense, but more so, we at least in the Sideshow industry call freak show is more so if you have an actual, we call natural born, somebody that has a human deformity.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just like to keep up.
Oh no,
on the
by all
term.
means.
So we call them natural.
Call them natural borns.
Natural borns.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. I hate to off track you there.
No, by all means, you're fine. Yes, I promise nobody's honestly gonna probably stick with you on that if you call it a freak show or not. It's a standard thing. I'm just thinking for my own self from Sideshow historian. Just I love the old time culture of that and all the old time performers. Oh yeah, Daisy and Violet Hilton were two of the most famous at that time in the vaudeville era of the 30s. Conjoined twins who would perform together. They would, I think, play clarinet and trumpet.
I would find it difficult if they performed separately.
Yeah. Oh yes. Well, actually, speaking of that on a funny level, I used to work at Stage 62, the local theater, and we did a performance of the musical Sideshow. If you get a chance to see, it's a great show. And the two girls who are playing Daisy and Violet were not joined at the hip. They just were so committed to the role, they did not ever leave each other's side the entire show.
Hold on.
Even in the dressing room, too, which was really impressive.
So you're telling me these people were not conjoined at all?
No.
They were just two normal people?
Yep, no tape, no rope. They were just committed to the act fully.
Wow, I guess you got to commit to the bit.
Oh, yes.
Wow, that's impressive. When it comes to the instance of natural borns, a lot of times I will loop or group in my head together Sideshow, acts, and natural borns, just because it's lumped together. Is there still, not only is there still a market for that, is there still any type of unity between 10 and 1 sideshows and natural born performers?
I would say yes, there's still unity. It has slowly died out. There's only a few natural borns I know of left performing. One of them is named Banjo Slacks. He's out in, I believe, Austin, Texas. He was with the 999 Eyes freak show.
Okay.
It's one of the last remaining actual classic freak shows in the world.
What is it that, I guess he is?
Yes. He actually has, I do apologize, I cannot remember the exact term, but he actually has, essentially the basic way to put it is lobster claw hands.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Is he related to the lobster claw family from the Pennsylvania area?
The Grady Stills? No, he is not.
Oh, thank God, because those people were
God.
a shit show.
That man is a terrible, just terrible person. His son, Grady Stills III, he is actually a wonderful person. He was featured on the AMC show, Freak Show.
Okay.
He's a great kid, but his father was just not a good man by any means.
If you're unaware of that story, that's more than likely a topic that we'll cover on this show at some point. Okay, so lobster claws.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting to me. I've never known anyone, obviously, and I've never even seen that in person. Is it something that they just look at? Like, I don't understand. Or do they do stuff as well? I mean, obviously, you're a multifaceted performer.
Yes.
But, like, what is the appeal? Is it just seeing, like, his hands?
Actually, I do apologize. Actually, I misgave his stage name. His name is actually Black Scorpion, not Banjo Slacks. I do apologize on that. But
not for nothing. That makes him sound so much more badass.
yes, Black Scorpion. But yes, first time seeing him, actually, he came to Cleveland at the Bowery Ballroom. I drove about 2 hours to get there because They were the group that kind of got me inspired to do sideshow. And he came out. He had a surgical glove on, and he came out talking with the audience. Put a chair down, put his hand onto the chair, grabbed a mallet, and just started beating the hell out of his hand. And I thought, okay, well, where are we going with this? And kept beating and screaming in all pain, had some blood spill out, and eventually pulls the glove off to reveal, I've only got technically three fingers. I was like, wow. And the audience did not know what to think of that, honestly.
I had heard a description, and I don't know what to think of it. I would. It's interesting that you say it's dying out, because I would have assumed that, just because not only the internet, we can see anything you want to see, and I don't want to say like PC culture is not the right word I'm looking for, but like it's less and less acceptable to. Man, this makes me sound like in the old days. It's less and less acceptable to make light or make fun of people for their physical appearance, and especially ones they can't change. That definitely. Back in my day, you can call a spade a spade. Wow, I lost my train of thought there because it's so wild. I was thinking about the natural borns, and if you don't have answers to this, that's fine as well. But from what I understand, the people that were pinheads,
yes,
were of diminished mental capacity.
I'm honestly not 100% sure on that one myself, really.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. I know there was a lot of talk, especially in the earlier years. I listened to a lot of podcasts myself about just mistreatment of the natural borns and such. And I wonder, how that went today, if it was because they were mentally handicapped, if that's part of the reason I don't see any, or I haven't seen any quote-unquote pinheads now. That's it.
I'm honestly not sure. I know, like, back in the old days of the 30s and 20s, whenever the freak shows were in their full form, I know a lot of people had protests about how, you're putting on display, you're doing this. But at the same time, a lot of the performers back then, they had no other job. They could not really work at a Kroger's or Walmart. This was their way of making a living. And oddly enough, they were some of the highest paid performers in the sideshow because they drew the most attention.
Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know they were paid the most.
Yes, they were we had a tier arc essentially in the sideshow. You had the natural borns, which were the top level. Then you had the working, I believe, I can't remember the exact term, but somebody that would modify their body to look like a natural born. Like back then, you had the tattooed lady or tattoo her entire body. That's when she would become second level as a natural born.
Okay. Then
you would have the working acts, which would be fire eating, sword swallowing, stuff like that.
Huh. Yeah. Well, that's fascinating. Also, some of the acts aren't appealing today. Like the strongman. There's dudes walking around that are strong as shit, big as hell. You know what I mean? It's not a crazy feat anymore. Or the giant. Watch an NBA game. Like, no disrespect, but they're 7 fucking feet walking around. Yeah.
The giant and the tattooed lady are definitely, unfortunately, gone out of play as much. But we do have some strongmen, though. There's still, actually do know two. My friend, Mr. Hot Todd Lincoln from Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
He does a classic strongman act, as well as a lot of good comedic puns.
What is a classic strongman act entail, I guess?
Classic strongman act entails, a lot of times what they often do is, one of them they're most famous for is rolling up a frying pan into a little tiny circle, which is, I still do not know how to do it.
That's very impressive.
It is.
I saw Mark Henry do it one time.
Yeah.
And that is impressive.
It really is. It's something else. And I kept, everybody thinks, oh, it's fake. It's fake. I remember my first time being in New Orleans, traveling with a strongman to go to Walmart to pick up a frying pan, kept the tags and everything on it.
To get a real frying pan.
Yes,
okay.
And did it right on stage. And I'm like, this is, wow.
That's pretty dope. That's a nice flex.
Yeah, a little bit.
I tell you what, you don't believe it's real? We'll go to the store and get one now.
Yep.
Phone book ripping?
Phone book ripping, yes. Another classic act in the strongman world.
Okay. Now, all I know about strongman is essentially from American Horror Story and cartoons. Mm-hmm. Do they do still demonstrations lifting like large dumbbells and whatnot still with that?
Not so much with the large dumbbells, mainly because they're really hard to get on stage, and it's a very large, very awkward prop. But what I've seen before, I have a friend, Faust the Destroyer from New Orleans. He does an act where he has a little essentially seat set up where one of the performers will sit in it, and he has chains attached to it. And then he has a mouthpiece bit, and he will actually put the mouthpiece in his teeth and lift the performer up in the chair, up in the air, with just the strength of his mouth.
That's a fascinating way to put it, because I feel like it takes so much more than just physical strength. And you say the strength of his mouth. Them chompers got to be in there.
Those are not dentures.
Wow. I've always been fascinated even by, I guess the closest parallel you can have is, it used to be like the show Guinness World Records or Ripley's, and you see like the Eastern mystics do stuff with their teeth and with other parts of their body and stuff. I've always been fascinated with that. It's interesting. Is there anything else is there like still a market for the bearded lady?
Not so much. I would say it's still definitely around. There are a few bearded ladies left.
I know quite a few bearded ladies myself, actually.
Yeah, so it's I'd say it's kind of slowly dying out, but more so, a lot of the bearded ladies too also do perform other acts as well. It's not just a single, as we call it, where it's, oh, look at my beard. They often will do blockhead and oftentimes MCs. They learn to adapt to the ages and to go on.
Now, before we start wrapping up, and obviously you'll have plenty of time to let people know where to find you. The Spherescapes Haunted Attractions in Elwood City.
Yes.
Do you want to elaborate more on that at all? So, because I know that's your current thing.
We'll be there every weekend throughout the month of October.
Okay. Do you know the price of admission, or do they have a website or anything like that?
Yes, they have a website, Fearscapes with an S, haunt.com. That's all the information they have. I believe tickets are $15. Now, if you go on the website, they will give you every detail they have regarding COVID and safety stuff. They're doing limited groups, up to three or less.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody is forced to wear a mask. Everybody has hand sanitizers. They're making sure everything is socially distant as possible.
Okay, that's great news. And I tell you what, if the performance is anything like this man's personality, it's going to be an absolute treat, guys. You're not going to want to miss that. I've also come to a realization of myself, because as soon as October hit, October 1st, I started posting pictures of myself with different filters and images, scary, because it's October.
Oh, yes.
And last night I went to a cemetery to do a amateur paranormal investigation, and it just all clicked as soon as October hit, and I feel like I am a pair of Uggs and a pumpkin spice latte away from just being a basic bitch. And
I wouldn't say that.
I don't know what's going on. I did a show last night, and my buddy Chris hit me up. How was the show? Blah, blah, blah. It's good, blah. Hey, I'm leaving a mic. You want to talk? We can talk on the phone. I said, can't. I'm at a cemetery right now. He goes, what are you doing in a cemetery? I said, I'm hunting ghosts. Or he said, what are you doing in a cemetery? And I didn't respond for about 15 minutes. Because first off, I felt like it was self-explanatory. Mm-hmm. What else am I doing at a fucking cemetery? But then I self-realization. I said, this is what my life has become. This is just what I do now. Like, I don't know.
Oh, nothing wrong with that. Honestly, it's a good time.
Yeah, it was a good time. I'll elaborate more on it in a future episode, but we had some good interactions.
Yeah. We
had intelligent responses from spirits, and one of our team members, I guess I'll call it. It's not a team. There's 5 of us. 5 fucking people. But he actually got scratched on the back.
Really?
Yeah, and it was a clear mark. Like we were walking, and he says, "Oh guys, hold on, my back is killing me right now. It feels like it's on fire." And the girl said, "Well, let's check his back, and I'll show you. It's like a 16-inch long scratch."
Wow, that really is. Wow, that is.
Yeah. So that photo will be shared later, but it was very interesting.
That is.
At one point, I was speaking into a spirit box, and I'm a little bit more direct. I'm not Zach Baggins. I'm not a douchebag, but I'm direct. And I said, look, I don't got time for games. If you got something to say it, or I'm turning off the fucking box. And about 2 seconds later, a voice comes on and says, "Fuck you." So I turned off the box.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like, okay, I'll dig it. And then without sharing too much, though, they turned on their spirit box, and we started talking. And I said something in response to something I heard, and as made a joke. And someone said, "Nice try."
No.
Out of the spirit box, and I was like, "Oh,
they're watching you.
They are paying attention. It was very interesting." So yeah, I'll definitely have to go to more Like if I would have went and not had anything,
Mm-hmm.
I would have said, okay, maybe another time.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it only grew my thirst for it. I'm like, man, but I have to take another guy to get scratched, so I don't get scratched again.
A special volunteer
Yeah.
victim.
Just stand right here. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry, it'll be fine. You won't see it coming.
No, that was very interesting.
No, it really is. Wow.
Also, I want to take a minute to let the people know Inquisitive Minds podcast is sponsored by Tenacious Detail. And all the month of October, they're having spooky savings with 15% off any deluxe package, including a ceramic coating for your vehicle. And with the 15% off, that's a decent discount at an already cheap price for a ceramic coating. Call now to schedule your mobile appointment. He'll come to you within 3 hours of the Pittsburgh area, 724-498-9942. And also, check out the holiday merch. This is our Inquisitive Minds podcast holiday t-shirt, Halloween shirt. It's on at the site. Check us out, inquisitiveminds.com or the Teespring store. You guys already know where it's at. If you're listening, if you're following, if you hear this at all, you know where the fuck it's at. That just helps support the podcast. And where can the people find you?
You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Stolen Stitches. We are as well on Instagram at IG/The Stolen Stitches. You can book us at on gigsalad.com/The Stolen Stitches. And we do have a YouTube page. There's not much on it, but we do have some videos, some fun little acts. Just look under The Stolen Stitches. Now, we'll say with that, you will find we are in a slight battle with a sewing company of the same name. But I think we are, oddly enough, a little bit different versions.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely didn't. I had no idea. Do they want you to change your name?
We've talked a little back and forth here, but I think eventually they've learned. We threw in the word sideshow on it just to make it more clear.
Stolen Stitches Sideshow.
Yes.
That's wild. I always think back to the WWF.
Oh, yes.
And the World Wildlife Foundation. No one was confusing the two.
Not at all.
We knew they were two different things. Get the hell out of here.
It still feels weird saying WWE.
Yeah, exactly. I grew up on WWF.
Oh, yeah.
So it still feels weird to say World Wrestling Entertainment. Fuck that. It's the Federation, I don't know, guys. You can check me out. I have a show on Saturday. If you're interested in coming, it's in Venango at the Venango General Store. Don't know when the next one after that is. Things are obviously sporadic because of COVID. Please check out the What in the History podcast with me and Dan Brady. I don't stop, and I guess I'm a workaholic because I've started another podcast. Check that out. It should be releasing this week. It is called Who Sat on the Remote? It's an interesting little twist where we take a random show and watch 3 random episodes and design our own arc of how the story played out till then. The first episode is on New Girl. Check that out. You can find me at inquisitiveminds.com. INQUIZATIVE. Minds. Remember, I can't beat this into your heads enough. It's spelled a little bit differently. Check me out on Instagram. We're on Twitter now. Thank you guys all for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Hey, I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me.
You were nothing but a treat and a joy and a pleasure. And guys, check out the Stolen Stitches. Check out the Fearscapes Haunted Attractions. See these guys wherever you can. They're amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you
See you
very
next
much.
week.
All right. Stay spooky, folks.